Coming up tonight, the Straits Times obtains exclusive CCTV footage showing the Tanjong Pagar crash.
The past year's budgets and the COVID-19 resilience package are about preservation and adaptation. From 2021, our focus will be on emerging stronger together.
A year on from the COVID-19 pandemic, find out what Budget 2021 means for you.
And what happened at Kranji Woodland? NParks is investigating why a large area was cleared by mistake. This is the Straits Times News Night. I'm Chia Suen.
Good evening, I'm Dylan Ang. The Straits Times has obtained new and exclusive footage from the tragic Tanjong Pagar accident that happened on the second day of Chinese New Year.
The CCTV camera footage shows the white BMW M4 coupe spinning out of control before rear-ending into the shop house at 37 Tanjong Pagar Road. After about 15 seconds, the car, which was occupied by 5 men aged between 26 to 29, burst into flames. Shortly after, a woman believed to be Miss Raby O appeared to be running towards the burning car and right into the flames.
Subsequent footage showed Miss O running out of the fire, still covered in flames. She remains in critical condition. ST's reporters on the ground have been speaking with the family and friends of the 5 young men who perished in the crash. Journalist David Sun tells us more about what the men were like according to those who knew them.
So based on what the friends said, the group was actually a group that all came up together. They were self-made. They worked hard for their money, and they came up together. They helped each other. At the same time, they had a love for fast cars, flashy lifestyle, luxury watches. But all this was paid by themselves. It's not, they didn't take this from their parents. And at the same time, while they enjoyed all these luxuries, they also strongly believed in helping the less fortunate. So in the case of Jonathan and Alvin and Raby, they were actually doing a charity thing just a few hours before the crash. In fact, on the first day of Chinese New Year, they were helping this charity organization, Hopes in Meals, to pack and deliver these bento meals to the less fortunate, the elderly who are living alone in the York Hill estate area.
Turning to today's other big story, we've put together a quick guide to Budget 2021 to help you understand exactly how it affects your wallet.
Speaking in Parliament today, Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat announced the Emerging Stronger Together budget, which the government has set aside $107 billion for.
A year into the pandemic, he says it's now time to shift things up a gear.
As we reopened our economy, we shifted our measures from containment to restructuring, while continuing our support for Singaporeans, workers and businesses.
Now here's something that will affect most Singaporeans. DPM Heng announcing changes to the way goods are being taxed. Now if you shop online, this will probably affect you. From January 2023, GST will be extended to imported goods under the value of $400. Currently, such goods imported via air or post are not subject to the charges.
And for those who drive, you will have to pay more at the pump from today, with petrol duties raised for the first time in 6 years. Additional help will also be available for those who rely on their vehicles for their livelihoods.
But the government will also be putting aside funds to enhance Singapore's recovery. All Singaporeans can expect to benefit from the new $11 billion COVID-19 resilience package, of which some will go towards safe reopening measures and the national vaccination exercise.
Next up, help for workers and hard-hit industries. There will be a further strengthening to the SG United Jobs and Skills package, with a second tranche of $5.4 billion being put aside. The aviation sector in particular will see an injection of $870 million. Other sectors such as transport as well as arts, culture and sports can also expect further help. And for the medical industry, which has been on the front lines of the pandemic, the government will enhance the salaries of nurses and other healthcare workers such as support care staff.
For families, DPM Heng announced a $900 million household support package. This will include an additional $200 one-off GST voucher cash special payment for lower-income Singaporeans in June, and a $120 to $200 GST voucher YouSave special payment for eligible HDB households. Some can also look forward to service and conservancy charges rebates. And about 1.3 million households will receive a $100 Community Development Council voucher that can be used at heartland shops and hawker centres.
Under the Singapore Green Plan 2030, there will be more support for electric vehicles in the next decade. The number of charging points will be doubled to some 60,000 at public car parks and private premises. The additional registration fee, or ARF, for EVs will be lowered to zero from 2022.
Last but not least, for the second straight year, the government will be spending more money than it brings in. Now, for financial year 2020, it expects to run the largest budget deficit since independence at $64.9 billion.
For FY 2021, the overall deficit is expected at $11 billion, and the total expected draw on past reserves over both years will be up to $53.7 billion. But Mr. Heng stressed that the deficit is warranted.
Since our independence, Singapore has weathered crisis after crisis and emerged stronger. I'm confident that we, as Singaporeans, can once again summon our resolve to tackle the challenges and emerge stronger from this unprecedented crisis.
For complete coverage of Budget 2021, you can visit straitstimes.com for more stories and expert analysis.
Now, a quick look at Singapore's COVID-19 situation. Just one new infection was confirmed today. The Health Ministry said the sole imported case had been placed on stay-home notice on arrival here.
In other news, trial has begun for the fatal 2017 Teck Whye Crescent stabbing that ended in the death of 35-year-old Muhammad Roslan Zaini. Prosecutors told the High Court today that Muhammad Rosli Abdul Rahim had intentionally inflicted the fatal stab wound between 11 and 13 centimeters deep, which penetrated the victim's sternum and pierced his heart. Now, Rosli is believed to have killed his flatmate after an argument over rent and utility payments, further exacerbated by his suspicions that Roslan was overcharging him. The trial continues.
NParks tells the Straits Times it has launched a probe into the unauthorised clearance of a large section of Kranji woodland that's home to around 40 species of birds. This after aerial photos showing destruction of the site emerged on social media. A JTC Corporation spokesman said that the land was erroneously cleared by its contractor before the completion of environmental assessments. The green patches cleared were on a site slated for the Agri-Food Innovation Park. Now let's take a look at what's been sparking conversations today. More important cultural elements and practices will soon be protected under the National Heritage Board's Intangible Cultural Heritage Inventory. Hawker dish Kway Chap, the Jewish festival Passover, and Malay dance form Zapin are among the 9 latest additions to the list, adding to a wide diversity of practices by various religious, ethnic, and artisanal groups here, which are now enshrined. This is the 3rd time that the list has been expanded since its launch in April 2018. It now comprises 97 from an original 50 practices and cultural artifacts.
Veganism isn't the first thing that would come to your mind when you think of Kit Kat, but all that might soon change with a new vegan version of the iconic candy bar. Swiss manufacturer Nestle didn't reveal the exact formula for the new treat to be known as Kit Kat 5, but said it would be launched later this year in several countries. It will use 100% sustainable cocoa. Guess time will tell if it would be released here.
And it seems like many Singaporeans do have a love for local cinema. Local film The Tiam Tiam Era 2, directed by Mark Lee, topped the Singapore box office over the Chinese New Year long weekend. Playing across 53 screens, it took in $850,000 over the festive period, well ahead of the second and third placed films Tom and Jerry and Detective Chinatown 3.
And in case you missed it, a garden for everyone rolled out over the Istana's Chinese New Year open house. A group of 18 beneficiaries and caregivers from Cerebral Palsy Alliance Singapore and St. Luke's Elder Care got to check out the new inclusive garden. If you're planning a visit, here's what you can expect.
So when you come into the garden, you'll see some ornamentals with colorful flowers, and of course flowering plants and also herb plants, right? They have scented flowers, scented leaves that you can touch and you can smell, to evoke the sense of smell. It brings you a lot of memories. One of the main features that you come into the garden, you'll see a fountain there. So the sound of water, simulate the sense, your hearing. So it's really a place for you to kind of like enjoy and to learn about plants and talk about them.
And that wraps up the Straits Times News Night. Do visit straitstimes.com to see more news and videos.
You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the button below. Have a great evening and we'll see you tomorrow.